The lights were on, the cinnamon rolls were cooling on the counter, and Kelsey Berreth was gone. Her warm coat still hung by the door. Her purse sat on a chair. The TV showed a pause baking show like she would come back any second. But the rooms were empty and still. A phone buzzed on the table, then went quiet. Outside, snow fell in small soft flakes. A neighbor knocked, waited, and knocked again. No answer. The door was locked from the inside. Where was Kelsey? Who had the key? And why did the house look like she had just stepped into another room and then vanished into thin air? 2 days earlier, Kelsey's day began like many others. She liked simple things: warm coffee, lists with boxes to check, and quick trips to the store before the crowds. She lived in a small Colorado town where the sky felt huge and the air smelled like pine. She worked hard, talked to her mom most days, and kept her circle close. People said Kelsey was steady. If she said she would be somewhere at 3 o'clock, she was there at 2:55. She loved traditions. Every year, right after Thanksgiving, she baked cinnamon rolls and shared them with neighbors. She was kind in small ways that add up. That week was busy. The weather kept changing from sun to thin ice. Kelsey wrote a list in neat block letters: store, feed the dog, call mom, pick up flour, text neighbors about rolls. She smiled at the last line. She liked how the house smelled when the cinnamon rolls came out of the oven, like sugar, butter, and a safe memory. She set dough to rise and turned on a music playlist that she always used when she baked. Later that afternoon, Kelsey stopped by a market for milk and a bag of oranges. The cashier remembered her because she made a joke about the slow card reader. "It's thinking too hard," she said with a grin. She left with a paper bag, waved at someone in the parking lot, and drove home. On the way, she answered a text from a friend. "Save me a roll?" Kelsey replied, "Always." The next morning was quiet. A friend sent her a message. No reply. Her mom called. It went to voicemail. That felt odd but not scary. People get busy. People forget to charge phones. By evening, though, the worry grew taller. Another friend tried to reach her. Nothing. The neighbor across the hall noticed Kelsey's porch light stayed on, even after the snow started. Around 9 p.m., the neighbor put a hand on Kelsey's door and paused. Something felt wrong. The house inside was lit. The blinds were half open. The dog barked once and went silent. The neighbor texted Kelsey, "You okay?" No reply. After a long minute, the neighbor called Kelsey's mom. Her mom answered on the first ring. She had also been trying to reach her. They decided to call the police for a wellness check. Officers arrived and spoke kindly. They knocked and called her name. The door was locked. They tried a second door. Also locked. A key holder came with permission from family. When the door opened, the air felt warm and sweet, like fresh baking. A tray of rolls sat on the counter, golden and perfect. The lower, less scary things came first. Officers checked each room and called out, "Kelsey? Kelsey, it's the police." No answer. They found her phone on the table, the battery low. Her purse was there too, which was strange. Kelsey didn't leave home without it. The dog's bowl was full, water fresh. A dish towel lay folded by the sink. Nothing looked broken. No signs of a fight. No messy drawers. The house was tidy, ready for company. It felt like a picture of normal. But normal can hide a secret. They called Kelsey's mom again. "We're here," an officer said gently. "We don't see Kelsey." Her mom's voice shook. She told them Kelsey always called back, even if it was late. She told them about the cinnamon roll tradition and how her daughter never let things burn, never left things half done. An officer wrote notes. Another officer stood very still and listened to the small sounds a house made. The hum of the fridge, the soft tick of a wall clock. He looked at the front door bolt. He looked at the windows. Snow wiped away footprints outside. The world was quiet and white. They started with careful steps. The officers took pictures. They put on gloves. They bagged the phone. They looked at the list on the counter. All boxes checked. Store, checked. Call mom, checked from 2 days earlier. Cinnamon rolls, checked and visible. A simple home with a missing person can be the loudest place in the world. Then an officer near the sink frowned. He had seen something small but sharp in the corner of his eye. He turned off the overhead light and used a small flashlight, sweeping the beam along the wall and floor. The beam paused at the base of a cabinet. He called for the detective on call. When Detective Harris arrived, he stood in the dim kitchen with a flashlight and looked where the officer pointed. There, near the leg of the island, was a tiny dark speck. Then another near the trash can. The specks were so small, you could miss them if you blinked. The detective didn't blink. He called for forensic kit and asked for luminol, the spray that makes hidden stains glow. The house lights went off. The kitchen sank into quiet blue-black. The can hissed. The spray settled. And as the detective raised the camera, the floor near the island began to bloom with pale, glowing marks. The kitchen turned a deep ocean blue as the lights went off and the spray settled. In that hush, the floor near the island began to glow soft, broken shapes that led like shy footprints toward the back door. Detective Harris didn't move for a long breath. The neighbor in the hall whispered, "What is that?" An officer answered quietly, "It can show where something was cleaned." The word cleaned floated through the warm, sweet air like a cold feather. It didn't prove what happened, but it said this. Someone had tried to make the floor tell a different story. The room brightened again. Cameras clicked. Swabs went into tiny tubes. A ruler lay beside each small patch while photos were taken from above. Harris kept his voice calm, steady and gentle. "We go slow. We do it right." He asked for a careful sweep of the door frame, the sink, the trash can lid, and the handles of the island drawers. Less extreme, steady steps. This is how real cases move forward. No jumps. No magic. Just patient hands. Outside, the snow had picked up. Officers knocked on doors. They spoke to neighbors with notepads ready. Mrs. Porter across the way said she saw Kelsey 2 days ago, bringing in groceries. The teenage boy upstairs said he heard a door close late at night, but thought it was the wind. A delivery driver remembered leaving a small package at Kelsey's place around noon and hearing a dog bark once. None of these pieces felt big by themselves, but together they were a map that wasn't finished yet. Back at the table, an officer scrolled through Kelsey's phone with permission from her mom. The lock screen was simple, a photo of the dog. The message list showed chats with her mom, 2 friends, and a neighbor about cinnamon rolls. Then the officer paused. "Detective," he said, "look at the time stamps." After the last time anyone heard her voice, Kelsey's phone had sent 2 texts. One to friend, "I'm fine, need some space," and one to her boss, "taking time off." Both were short. Both didn't sound like her. Her texts were usually warm and full of little smiles and exclamation marks. These were flat, like someone trying to write her voice without knowing how she laughed. Harris wrote that down. He asked Tech to start the phone's location history request with the proper paperwork. While they waited, he called Kelsey's mom and spoke gently, explaining that small things were adding up in ways that didn't feel right. Her mom's voice shook, but stayed strong. "She wouldn't leave without telling me," she said. "She wouldn't leave the dog." Harris promised to keep her updated. He did not promise answers by morning. Real promises in cases like this are about effort, not speed. Later, the first location ping report slid in. It showed the phone near Kelsey's home on the day she went quiet. Hours later, the phone pinged again, not near her home, but far away, along a highway that cut through open land. Then it pinged in another town. Then it stopped. The dots looked like a string someone had dropped across a map. Tech leaned over the screen. "Could be the phone moving," she said, "or someone turning it on and off." Harris looked at the line. It was heading north. Less extreme steps continued. Officers pulled camera feeds from nearby streets. Traffic cams, small shop cameras, and a doorbell cam across from Kelsey's building. The weather made some of the pictures blurry, but small details still live inside the frames. Headlight shapes, the way a person stands, the time stamp that doesn't lie. They watched hours of nothing much to find the 5 seconds of wait, go back. Kelsey's mom arrived at the station the next morning with a folder of printouts. old texts, a holiday plan, a list of names who might know where Kelsey could be if she wanted quiet time, but she never did. Harris thanked her, made copies, and walked her through everything they were doing. "We're going to keep looking," he said. "Every stone." Her mom nodded, tired but brave. "I can bake more rolls for neighbors if it helps keep people talking," she said. Harris smiled softly. "Food keeps folks at the door," he said. "That could help." The phone company sent a second page. The final ping near a cell tower close to a long stretch of road. Snow, brush, and a gas station. Harris sent a car to that exit to ask about cameras and receipts. The clerk didn't remember faces but kept the footage. "People come in for coffee and windshield wipes," he said. "That's it." They pulled the video and copied it. Back in the evidence room, Harris studied the luminol photos again. Glow near the island. Fainter glow near the trash. He opened the trash carefully with gloves. It held normal things: paper towels, a flour bag, a cinnamon sugar packet, an empty plastic wrap tube. He bagged the tube anyway. He bagged the sugar packet. He bagged the paper towels. Small things can be important later when they're lined up beside other small things. Then Tech called from the other office. "Detective," she said, "I have something." Her voice had that thin thread of energy that comes when a puzzle piece finally fits. Harris walked in. On the big monitor, they had the doorbell camera from across the street. The time stamp showed late evening, after the snow had started. The picture showed Kelsey's front door in the middle, with a walkway and a slice of the parking area. At first the frame was empty, then headlights slid across the snow. A pickup eased into view and parked without lights for a second. The driver's door opened. A tall figure stepped out. Head down, coat hood up, the person moved with quiet, certain steps, like they had done this before. The figure walked to Kelsey's door, reached into a pocket, and used a key. The door opened. The figure slipped inside. Minutes passed. The porch light stayed steady. Snow thickened. When the door opened again, the figure didn't just step out. They backed out slowly, arms wrapped around a large, dark plastic tote with a yellow lid. The tote was heavy. The figure hugged it close and edged down the steps, careful and sure, leaving no fingers exposed to the air. The tote went into the back of the truck. The hood turned toward the camera for one soft breath of time, and the face was almost clear. The image froze on the screen. The glow of the monitor painted everyone's faces pale. Detective Harris leaned in, eyes narrowing as a hooded figure turned, just enough light catching the jawline and cheek. He reached toward the keyboard. "Pause there," he said. The tech stopped the frame. It wasn't a clear face, not perfect, but the shape, the height, and the way the person moved all hinted at something. Harris exhaled slowly. "That's not a stranger." The tech nodded. "Looks like someone who's been here before. Knows the place." "Pull vehicle registration," Harris said. "That's a black pickup with side rails. There aren't many of those around here." It took hours. Every clip, every reflection, every clue had to be cross-checked. The tech zoomed in until pixels became blocks of light. On the tailgate was a faint sticker, half-peeled, white on dark metal. She enhanced the frame, lightened it, and the letters appeared. Miller Construction. Harris stood still. He knew that company. Kelsey's fiancé, Patrick Frazee, worked in construction and sometimes used a truck with the same logo. He had been cooperative during early calls, polite, concerned, steady, too steady. Harris picked up his phone. "Let's bring him in again," he said quietly. Less extreme steps first. The detectives met Patrick at his ranch. Snow covered the fields in soft ripples. Horses moved in slow circles, their breath fogging the air. Patrick came out wiping his hands on a rag, calm as if this was just another chat. "You're still looking for Kelsey?" he asked. "I told you. I haven't seen her since Thanksgiving. She dropped off the baby and left." Harris nodded, his voice neutral. "We just want to go over a few things again. You said she texted after that?" Patrick shrugged. "Yeah, said she needed space." "From you?" He gave a small, practiced smile. "Guess so. Relationships get hard, you know." The detective didn't reply. He looked toward the pickup parked near the barn. The logo matched the grainy image exactly. Same scratch under the handle, same missing hubcap. Mind if we take a quick look? Patrick hesitated, just a breath too long. Sure, he said finally, tossing the keys in the air and catching them. The officers moved methodically. The inside of the truck smelled faintly of cleaning spray. The seats looked spotless, too spotless for a work vehicle. Harris touched the floor mat with gloved finger, lifted a faint speck of reddish-brown dust, and sealed it in a tiny envelope. Then he looked at the bed of the truck. The surface had been scrubbed, water still frozen in the corners. They didn't say anything there, not yet. They thanked Patrick, handed back his keys, and drove off. Inside the car, the air was heavy. He cleaned it. One officer said quietly. Harris nodded. But cleaning doesn't erase everything. At the lab, under bright white light, they examined the speck. The test came back late that night. Human blood. The next morning, a search warrant went out for Patrick Frazee's ranch. Snow crunched under boots as officers combed through barns, sheds, and pastures. They found burnt debris behind the barn, the air still faintly bitter. In the ashes lay the twisted frame of a metal tote, the same shape seen on the doorbell video. Harris looked down at it, silent. He didn't need anyone to explain what it meant. They gathered more. Traces of blood in the hay barn, cleaning rags hidden under feed bags, a half-used bottle of bleach. Nothing loud, nothing cinematic, just quiet proof, piece by piece. Meanwhile, Kelsey's mom stayed at the station, waiting for news. Harris walked in, his face calm but sad. "We found evidence she was hurt," he said gently. "We're still searching." Her mother covered her face with her hands but stayed upright. "He said she just left," she whispered. "He said she was fine." As hours turned into days, the search widened. Crews combed through ravines and fields, metal detectors sweeping in arcs. Reporters gathered outside, their cameras catching the gray sky and the flashing red of patrol cars. The town grew quiet. People spoke softly at the store, at church, everywhere. Then one afternoon, a ranch hand came forward. He had seen smoke rising from Patrick's property late the night Kelsey vanished. "It smelled awful," he said. "Not like wood." That statement became a hinge. The case swung open. Harris returned to Patrick's ranch with a new warrant. The detective's boots left deep marks in the half-melted snow. Inside the barn, near the ashes, they found a fragment of a key ring, small, silver, the kind with a tiny letter charm. The letter was K. The lab confirmed what Harris already knew. The blood from the truck bed matched Kelsey's DNA. The tiny burned fragment from the tote were pieces of her belongings. The phone pings, the fake texts, all lined up in a straight, cold line leading back to him. That night, under a low sky, Patrick Frazee was arrested for the murder of Kelsey Berreth. He didn't fight. He didn't speak. He only watched as the handcuffs clicked shut. Later, Harris stood outside the station, snow starting again in thin, slow flakes. Across the street, yellow streetlights reflected off the wet pavement. He looked up at the faint glow of dawn beginning behind the clouds. Kelsey's name echoed in his mind. Steady, kind, dependable. Gone too soon. Inside, Kelsey's mother sat holding a folded piece of paper. It was her daughter's list, the one found on the counter. Store. Call Mom. Cinnamon rolls. All boxes checked. She touched the last line softly with her thumb and whispered, "We found you." Harris walked past her and paused at the window. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and endless, covering the tracks, the roads, the town. But not the truth. The truth stayed, clear and cold, written across every heart that still said her name, Kelsey Berreth.